And now, direct from Las Vegas, it's Football Forecast Weekly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Trip Mitchell. And before we get started, we've got some great games coming up this weekend, but I just want to compliment Dennis. You have been on fire this year. Your picks have made a lot of money for a lot of people. We were very excited about that. Specifically, Sundays and Mondays have been very good to us. I want to talk about two games and get your thoughts on them. One, a great matchup in the SEC, Texas A&M against LSU. Two phenomenal quarterbacks. They're going to sling it all over the yard. Very tempting to go over on this game, but Dennis, I want to hear your thoughts on LSU versus Texas A&M and Johnny Football. And then the other game is Baylor. This team I'm in love with, and I've gotten a chance to study them. Do you realize this program puts out quarterbacks who sling it for 4,000 yards a season? You know, RG3, they're located in Waco, Texas. I love this program, but they've got a very stern test this week against Oklahoma State, cheating you. Dennis, what are your thoughts on these two games?
Well, thanks a lot, Trip. We have won a lot this year. I was thinking the other day, I don't believe we've missed a Sunday or Monday night NFL game. I'm sure some fact checker out there will let me know if I'm wrong, but not being able to remember any losses is a good thing. That means we've won most of the time, and we certainly have. Congratulations to you, Trip, for that Baylor pick last week. They came through with flying colors. I'm going to talk about them in just a minute. First of all, I want to say Alabama and Florida State, the top two teams in the country this week, play patsies. I don't know how they should be able to be allowed to play for number one when the rest of the teams in the country are playing hard teams, hard conference games at this time of the year. Alabama got off rather easy when it come to their SEC schedule. And, of course, Florida State, they're a 50, 60-point favorite in their game this week. So look for them to both stay where they are while the rest of them fight their way up the ladder, and one of those teams is Baylor. First, though, let's take a look at the Texas A&M LSU game. This is a key Southeast matchup with the two best quarterbacks in the league, Johnny Football for A&M and Zach Mettenberger for LSU. And you can look for the sparks to fly in this one. The total on this game is 71. 71. The thing is, A&M's a 4.5-point favorite, or gets 4.5 points at LSU this week, and I just don't think LSU is good enough to beat a team like A&M by 4.5 points. As a matter of fact, I like A&M very much in this spot and may play them on the money line as well. But for the value, take Texas A&M plus the points in a real shootout at LSU. All right, now we'll get to that Baylor game, and Tripp's high on him, and he well should be. After watching him play over and over again, I can tell you one thing. I don't care if they have the ball on their own 10-yard line with 12 seconds left in the half. They're going to shoot for the end zone, so the defenses better be ready. And that's the good thing that Oklahoma State has going for them this week. They're Baylor's opponent, and they host the Bears. Baylor at Oklahoma State. Baylor opened as an 8.5-point favorite, quickly jumped to -10. Baylor and Oregon and teams like that have jumped on the point spread the minute it opened all year long, and this was no exception to the rule. Now, I don't know why for sure they did, because Oklahoma State has played tremendously well, and they have a great defense, and they just manhandled Texas last week, 38-13 in Austin. So when Baylor runs into the Oklahoma State Cowboys, they're not running into one of these patsies like Alabama and Florida State's playing. In this game, 10 points, I'm going to say it's too much. I know Tripp's probably going to disagree with me here, but I'm going to take Oklahoma State plus the 10. I think there's value in that. And this week's winners are A&M plus the points and Oklahoma State plus the points. Back to you, Tripp.
Dennis, great information, and I agree with you. Alabama and Florida State, they're playing nobodies. They need to have a stronger schedule. However, Alabama's going to have to play in that SEC championship game. I hope they lose. I really would like to see Baylor get in this national championship game. And I'm not a huge fan of Urban Meyer at Ohio State, but all he's done is win all the games during the regular season last year and this year. It's kind of hard to keep him out of that game. Next year, obviously, a 4-game playoff, it'll make a lot better. Let's talk about the NFL this weekend. San Diego and Kansas City. Kansas City's in trap week. They had the big game last week in Denver. They went in 9-0, lost it. They're in danger of losing this week against San Diego. Philip Rivers is still one of the top quarterbacks in the game, and if Smith and Kansas City lose here and then lose at home next week, 9-3 doesn't look that great for a 9-0 team just a couple of weeks ago. We'll see how that turns out. Then there's an NFC East battle between New York and Dallas. Now, prior to the season, all the media people in New York, they love the NFC East, but Philly sucks, Washington sucks, Dallas sucks, and New York sucks this year. However, New York sucks a little less. They've got Coughlin, 2 Super Bowl wins, Manning, a defense that's very strong. So this should be an interesting game. Dennis, what are your thoughts on these two matchups?
Well, one thing I will say to start the NFL segment is good luck, everybody, with your picks. There's 4 or 5 games that are -1 each direction, or basically pick'ems, and there's also 3 or 4 other games where the number lies right on 4, which is the toughest number to beat when it comes to pro football. So this week's card is very, very tough, and you need some advice from experts in order to get yourself some wins. First of all, let's take a look at the Chargers-Chiefs game. The Chiefs, coming off their first loss of the year at Denver, they didn't really play that well, and no one really expected them to. As I told you on the show last week, it would be Denver and under, and it was Denver and under. Anyway, the Chiefs are sandwiched between 2 games at Denver against Denver because they host the Broncos next week. This week, they're hosting the Chargers. They're going to get the same medicine, however, because the Charger coach is Denver's former offensive coordinator, so you can bet that Philip Rivers and the team will be running the same kind of offense that they did at Denver. Now, Kansas City didn't do much with Denver's weak, beat-up offensive line. And that's not the case in San Diego. San Diego's line is a lot tougher and should be able to hold the Kansas City defense at bay. One thing you should remember about the Chiefs is they played the weakest schedule in the NFL to get to that 9-0 record they had before being knocked off last week. Look for them to be 9-3 in a couple of weeks from now, because I think the Chargers might step right up and beat the Chiefs at home here. Looking ahead to another Bronco matchup, the 4 points are definitely value, so we'll take the Kansas City Chiefs +4 in this matchup. The second game is a showcase of ineptitude. The Cowboys at the New York Giants. It's an important game for their division and their conference, but as far as anyone else cares, there's not much here. I've been harping for weeks about how lousy Dallas is, from the front office to the quarterback to the team players, and I'm going to stick with my words. The New York Giants are 1-point home favorites in this one, and what do they have going for them? They've got a coach going for them. They're head and shoulders above the Cowboys. How about a quarterback? Yeah, Manning's 10 times better than Romo. How about a defense? Yep, the Giants' defense is better too. Plus, they have home field advantage. They have to win the game by 1 point. Here's one of those single-digit games that you can take and lay some wood on. Take the Giants, lay the 1 point as they kick the Cowboys' ass. So here we go with this week with the Chargers plus the points and the Giants -1. And before I leave, I want to congratulate John P. He won our football handicapping contest on the website for the 4th time this year. This guy ought to think about moving to Las Vegas and making a living out here. So if you haven't already entered, it's not too late. Go to footballforecast.com, enter our NFL handicapping contest to win a trip to Vegas for you to visit with us while we celebrate Super Bowl weekend. That's right, hang out with the cast and crew of Football Forecast Weekly. Just go to footballforecast.com right now and fill out the contest. We'll be back next week on Tuesday and put the show on the air on Wednesday, so everyone will have a happy Thanksgiving with their families. So next week, remember the show comes up on Wednesday. Until then, out.
Dennis, as always, great information, and maybe we're off a little hard on the NFC East, but face it, they just don't have the wins this year. So much optimism going in. Chip Kelly in Philadelphia, the situation in Washington last year, but RG3 got used poorly, got that injury, and he's not been the same quarterback since. So NFC East deserves to have a little dirt thrown on him. Dennis, as usual, great information, and we look forward to visiting with you next week. For everyone at Football Forecast, I'm Trip Mitchell saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.